So we're going to talk about how to use some of these in a little more detail. I'll have separate videos for individual ones, but this is kind of a nice big overview on these. The first thing I usually like to recommend to people is that they cleanse their objects and they cleanse their space before they get started. And I usually recommend you can do that with sage. So this is just a basic sage smudge and a lighter that's almost dead. So you get your lighter started, and you will just go to your tools, give them a good smudging. And your space as well, just to kind of clear the air, get things prepared. So I'm going to start with the crystal system I was mentioning. This is a set that I actually created because I work with crystals a lot, and I wanted a set that resonated with me. So the way this crystal set works is usually I have a little bowl of about 70 crystals, and people can choose things out of it depending on what they're drawn to, what they like, what sparkles just right for them. So I just grabbed a small handful, and the way we use this set is we take the crystals that are chosen and let them fall. And then I look to see where everything lands. So in this setup, as you're seeing it, I always start in the east. So this is new beginnings, new ideas, it's the air. And we have Seraphonite, and Seraphonite is about connecting with kind of your angel guides, your spirit guides. So this kind of denotes the beginning of a new journey. We move into the fire. This is passion and movement. And we have cowrie shell and citrine. Now citrine is all about putting some flame behind your new ideas, finding prosperity, making sure that you are fiscally sound. And cowrie is about looking outside of the box and finding new ways to interpret things. So here we're going from new journey into something that is possibly a new money venture for you. However, it's not going to be a standard path. It's something that you're going to have to be a little bit creative about. We have nothing in the healers area. This is the west, the water. But in the wisdom area, we have sunstone, we have snowflake obsidian, and we have carnelian. Now carnelian is about being in touch with the things that you need to have. Sunstone is knowing when to let go and to appropriately grieve the things that you're letting go. And sunstone is reminding you that there will be light on everything that you do. Everything that you do is seen by someone or something. So this kind of talks to you about knowing how to have your ducks in a row, knowing what to keep, what to get rid of, knowing how to act your ethical best. And then we move into the center, which is spirit. We have sodalite, bloodstone, sparkle quartz, and slag. Now this is kind of dealing with getting rid of things too. These are two aspects of unwanteds. The slag is getting rid of the things in your life that are trashing your life up and keeping you behind, whereas the sparkle quartz is about looking at the things that you don't appreciate in your life and finding a new beauty in them. Bloodstone is about having that feminine quality to yourself, to know how to connect to your more nurturing and emotional side. And the sodalite is about getting in touch with more of your internal self in order to connect better with higher power. So that's how I would read something like that. Now in the case of a crystal ball or any kind of a crystal ball, and if you're looking for a pure clear crystal ball, I'll tell you right now that if you want a good clear one, buy a glass one. Unless you have more money than you know what to do with, you're not going to find a good clear crystal ball for anything that most people would want to pay. So mine is selenite, but it does have on it, it does have one really nice clear spot in it right in here that it's probably not picking up in the camera. But the way you would use one of these is you would take like a darker surface, like maybe a piece of dark blue or black velvet, and you would set this on that surface and allow it to kind of surround it a little bit. And in that surrounding, then you take time, you breathe, you meditate into this, and you look into the crystal and you ask questions. As you're asking your questions, you are meditating with the crystal, and you are allowing any visions that come through the crystal or any visions that come through your mind or through your mind's eye to come to the front so that you can see them. Sometimes this will come in sound for you, Sometimes it will just come in the knowing. You can frequently see, when you put that dark background around it, you can frequently see the things starting to form inside. So that's how you would use, say, a crystal ball. Crystal balls take some practice, the same as magic mirrors. They take some practice. Magic mirrors or black mirrors or scrying mirrors, this is a nice one. It is just a mirror, and I have a label on the back, but it's just a mirror that has been painted in a way that it's no longer silver reflective like we're accustomed to, but it's black reflective. And so what you would do with this again is you would put it to an angle. You wouldn't necessarily hold it so that you can see yourself in it, but you would put it to an angle and you would look into it, and you let your eyes go soft, you let your mind go soft, you go into your meditative state again, and you wait for the visions to come. And this, again, this takes a lot of practice. This is not something that most people can just pick up and do. We talked a little bit about the Om, and again, this is an ancient form of writing for starters. It's probably one of the first forms of writing. So on each one of these little sticks, this is a handmade set that a friend had made for me. On each one of these little sticks is a marking that denotes not just a letter, but a type of tree as well. And each tree is a sacred tree, and it has sacred qualities. And so what you would do is you would want to ask your question and, maybe pull 2 or 3 and see what your answers are. Now, I don't read OM, so I'm not going to be able to look at this and go, well, that tells me. But if you know, say, if this is oak and oak is strength, and say maybe this is willow and willow is about flexibility, and let's say maple and maple's about understanding the sweetness and quality of life. So here you are looking at something that's telling you that in order to be strong, you need to be flexible and look around you and appreciate the things that you have. Okay? When I talk about scrying with other rocks or crystals, what I mean by that is you're actually looking, again with soft eyes, into the surfaces of the crystals that you have. For example, this one is Mama Bear. So when I work with her, one of the things that I see, and you might be able to see it better there, I see a big profile of a bear head. So here's the snout, here's the brow, coming up into the ear. When I work with Mama Bear and I turn her on all of her surfaces, I actually see a series of about 7 different bears and bear pairs. So this stone is a stone that I use when I want to deal with grounding, or when I need to ask questions that deal with protective nature or nurturing nature or watching over nature, Mother Nature. So I work with Mama Bear for that. Different crystals will tell you different stories. Same crystals can tell you different stories as well. Like I have a nice apophyllite piece that I use a lot when I do journey work, and it actually helps me to do my journey work a lot smoother. And I can ask it all sorts of different questions, but this one's more for my grounding and for my security. This is the I Ching. I was wrong when I told you earlier that it was you. It's actually Yarrow. And this is another system that I don't use, but you kind of follow, see if I can find a picture in the book that kind of shows you how it works. So, yeah, the pictures are really small. What they're showing you is you're looking for patterns. So for example, you want to look for patterns in the way your sticks fall. So this one is dealing with sustenance and making sure that you have everything that you need. You would literally take the sticks, let them fall, look for your patterns in here. So, for example, here I see 2 longs and 3 shorts, okay? So then you would look that up and see what that means. Each pattern has a different meaning to it. We had talked about using mahjong tiles as well, and you can do this with dominoes too, but you'd have to have a system in place for what each of the pips and sets of pips would mean. So mahjong tiles come in suits and numbers as well. They're almost like playing cards, but there's I want to say there's 108 of them, but I could be completely wrong on that too. But each one has its symbol on it, it has a number, it has your suit, and then it kind of tells you a little bit through the pictography what that particular tile is about. And again, you would use this the same way you'd use some of these other things. Each one of these has a meaning. That meaning might shift a little bit depending on what it lands with, or even if you have certain positions that you would lay it out in, what each of those positions would mean. So it's similar to tarot in that fact. You could do this with the pips, or with the Mahjong tiles themselves too. This is just a printed deck. We talked about angel cards, and the way angel cards would work is, I just need a little piece of inspiration today, so you just reach into your little, most people keep these in little bowls. So my little piece of inspiration today is gratitude. I have a blessings bowl here in the shop that I use that. I do the same idea with. I have a may you be blessed with, and people can pull out of that and see, oh, I am blessed with family, I am blessed with love, I am blessed with whatever it is. There are oracle decks. Oracle decks, like I said before, are different from tarot decks in that they don't have suits. And oracle decks usually have a theme. So here's a goddess card deck. Here we have Demeter, which is about mother. We have Hecate, which is about the crone. We have Isis. She's the Egyptian goddess of love and beauty. She's also the Egyptian goddess of mothering, of love, of compassion, of passion, of magic. So again, you would pull these guys, you would ask your question first, you'd be clear about what your question is, you'd lay them out in some form of a pattern, and then you would read them as they come up and see what story they have to tell you. This is another goddess deck. This is the one I use the most. I like this one too. I like this one because it has beautiful art on it. They all have little descriptions on the bottom. Most of these decks also come with books to help give you a little more guidance. But what I have found when you're using decks is that you do better off if you learn the deck before you read the book. And by learn the deck, what I mean is you start out, maybe every morning you pull one card, read that card, look at that card, really get to know that card, make acquaintanceship with that card, and then the next day you do the same thing with a different one. Rider-Waite is your standard. No, I'm sorry, we're still talking about oracles. Let's go to oracles before we... Oracle decks can be made out of anything. So for example, this is the grandmother's deck, and this deck is based off of the artwork and dolls of Megan Garcia. So Megan Garcia creates these little like shamanic grandmother dolls, and each one has a story. Like this one says gentle heart wise woman, and it's all about the story of being a wise woman. And this one is grandfather son clan of gifting, so this is actually a grandfather and not just a grandmother. So she created these to tell stories. Again, you could pull these up and read the story. I learned to be a wise woman through the act of giving away, and then there's more to it. So you learn from the cards. You kind of learn the wisdom of the elders this way. The other oracle deck that I was showing you before is called the Russian Gypsy fortune-telling cards. And again, these are split into quadrants. And you pull a certain number of cards. There's a very prescribed way of using this particular deck. But you pull a certain number of cards and you flip them over. And then when you do that, then you start looking at them to see where you have matchups. So for example, right here, the very first matchup I get is Black Cat. So we know that we're dealing with something that is considered to be unlucky. Here we have a heart, so unlucky in love. So this is not exactly the deck that I would want to be working with today. Tarot. So the standard tarot that most people are familiar with is known as the Rider-Waite deck. This deck has been around for a couple hundred years. Again, the reason a tarot is a tarot and not an oracle deck is because there are typically 4 suits plus a major arcana. The 4 suits are known as the minor arcana, and then the other one is known as the major arcana. There's usually 22 cards in the major, and each of the 4 suits have 14 cards, which makes for some number 72, 70. My math is bad. Sorry. But most people, when they're starting with tarot, they'll start with the Rider-Waites. Another popular deck that's out there is known as the Thoth deck, and this is by Aleister Crowley. And this one, again, it has some beautiful art to it, but it is 4 suits plus a major arcana, just like a regular tarot deck. Tarot decks can be built on themes as well. For example, I have tarot decks at home for everything from tattoos to Rumi to witchcraft to paganism to Silicon Valley. Tarot decks come in all shapes and sizes and forms. And then this is the beginner's tarot deck, one of the versions of the beginner's tarot deck, which has, again, similar iconography to the standard Rider-Waite, but they've cleaned it up a little bit, made it a little nicer, neater lines. So that's kind of your basics on these tools. Another video for some other ones. Thanks.